There is a boundary around you right now. You cannot see it, you cannot touch it, and no instrument ever built by human hands has been able to directly measure it. And yet it is the most consequential structure in all of physical reality. It defines, with mathematical precision, every event you will ever experience, every choice you will ever make, and every cause that will ever reach you. It is called the light cone, and once you understand what it truly is, the word freedom will never sit comfortably in your mind again. To understand why this boundary exists, we have to go somewhere strange. We have to go to a way of thinking about the universe that most people never encounter. A geometric description of reality that was worked out in the early 20th century by a mathematician named Hermann Minkowski, who looked at Einstein's special theory of relativity and said, "This is not just physics, this is geometry. This is the shape of existence itself." Minkowski proposed something radical. He said that space and time are not two separate things. They are two dimensions of a single unified fabric, a four-dimensional structure we now call space-time. In ordinary life, we think of space as the arena where things happen, three dimensions of length and width and depth, and time as something separate, a river that flows past while objects sit in that arena. Minkowski said that picture is wrong. Space and time are woven together into one continuous geometric manifold, and every event that happens, every moment in your life, every particle interaction anywhere in the cosmos occupies a precise location in that four-dimensional fabric, a location defined by four coordinates. Three of them tell you where. One of them tells you when. Now here is where the architecture becomes astonishing. In ordinary geometry, you can move between any 2 points in any direction you choose. Left, right, up, down, backward, forward. There are no preferred directions, but in Minkowski spacetime, there is a profound asymmetry. There is a fundamental difference between the directions that point through space and the direction that points through time. And the thing that creates that difference, the thing that carves the distinction into the fabric of reality itself, is the speed of light. Light travels at roughly 300 million meters per second in a vacuum. That number is not just a property of photons. It is not just how fast electromagnetic radiation happens to move. It is the universe's hard limit on the speed at which information, cause, and influence can propagate. Nothing with mass can reach that speed. Nothing can exceed it. Not because of engineering limitations we might one day overcome, but because the mathematics of spacetime simply does not permit it. As an object with mass accelerates, the energy required to push it faster grows without bound. To reach light speed would require infinite energy. The geometry of spacetime makes it structurally impossible. What this means is that there is a maximum angle at which cause can travel through the spacetime fabric. If you imagine drawing the path of a light beam on a spacetime diagram, with time running vertically and space running horizontally, that path traces out a line at 45 degrees. Nothing can travel at a shallower angle than 45 degrees from the time axis, because nothing can travel faster than light through space. Every physical influence, every signal, every particle carrying information must stay inside that angular constraint. And when you extend that constraint in all spatial directions simultaneously, the 45-degree boundary becomes a cone, your light cone. Picture yourself standing at a single point in space-time, a particular place at a particular moment. Now imagine a beam of light bursting outward from that point in every direction simultaneously, expanding as a sphere in space as time advances. The surface of that expanding sphere traces the future light cone. Everything inside that cone can potentially be influenced by something that happens at your location right now. Everything outside it cannot, not yet. The influence simply has not had time to travel that far, because nothing travels faster than light. Now turn that picture around. Imagine all the light that could have converged on your precise location in space-time from the past, arriving from every direction at exactly this moment. The surface of that converging sphere traces the past light cone. Everything on or inside your past light cone is something that could have caused or influenced what you experience right now. Everything outside your past light cone is something that could not have reached you in time to affect this moment. No matter what it is, no matter how powerful, no matter how significant, these two cones, the past cone and the future cone, together define the causal neighborhood of your existence. Inside them is everything that is causally connected to you. Outside them is everything that is, right now, causally disconnected from you, an entire region of the universe that you are physically unable to interact with, not because you lack the technology, not because you are not strong enough, but because the geometry of spacetime makes it mathematically impossible. Now think carefully about what that means for the idea of freedom. We have an intuitive sense of freedom as a kind of openness. We imagine that at any given moment we could reach out and affect any number of things. We could make a phone call, send a message, take a step in any direction. What we do not tend to think about is that all of those choices are already being filtered, already being constrained by the geometry of our light cone. You can only call someone because the light cone of the electromagnetic signal you send intersects with their light cone at the right moment. You can only respond to a question because the information in that question entered your past light cone before the moment you speak. The light cone is not a metaphor for limitation. It is the actual geometric structure of what is physically possible for you. And it is narrow. It is far narrower than the open universe you feel yourself to be moving through. Consider a star 100 light years away. It is a real star, burning right now, a massive physical object undergoing nuclear fusion at this very moment. But the light it is emitting right now will not reach your eyes for a century. Which means that whatever is happening on that star right now is outside your current light cone. You cannot know about it. You cannot respond to it. If that star went supernova this morning, emitting a wave of radiation that would eventually threaten Earth, you would have zero causal access to that event. No choice you make today is causally connected to it. Your freedom, your agency, your capacity to respond is completely and utterly absent with respect to that event, not because of ignorance, but because of geometry. This is the structure that Minkowski spacetime reveals. Your agency is not a field that extends outward in every direction. It is a cone, a specific, rigidly defined, mathematically precise cone. And the speed of light is the parameter that sets the angle of that cone, which means the speed of light is the parameter that sets the scope of your possible freedom at every moment of your existence. Let us go deeper into the physics to understand why this is so absolute. In Newtonian physics, there was no such constraint. In the classical picture of the world, information could in principle travel instantaneously. If something happened on the other side of the galaxy, there was no fundamental reason why you could not know about it at the same moment. Cause and effect were connected across the entire universe without any lag. Time was universal, the same for everyone, ticking at the same rate for every observer everywhere. Space was just a stage on which events played out. Einstein dismantled that picture in 1905. He showed that the laws of physics must look the same to all observers moving at constant velocity relative to each other, and that the speed of light must be the same for all of them too, regardless of the motion of the source or the observer. These two postulates, seemingly simple, tear apart the Newtonian framework at its roots. If the speed of light is the same for everyone, then simultaneity cannot be universal. Two events that appear to happen at the same time for one observer will not appear simultaneous for another observer moving relative to the first. There is no absolute now that extends across the universe. There is no single slice of space-time that all observers agree is the present moment. What fills the role of that universal present is precisely the light cone. The events that can be connected by a signal traveling at or below light speed are causally connected, and that causal connection is frame-independent, meaning all observers will agree on it regardless of their relative motion. But events outside each other's light cones have what physicists call a space-like separation. The order in which those events occur is not fixed. Different observers in different states of motion will disagree on which one happened first. There is no meaningful causal relationship between them, because no physical influence can bridge that gap in space-time. This is not a failure of measurement. It is not a gap in our knowledge. It is a structural feature of the geometry. Events with space-like separation are, in a deep and literal sense, not causally related to each other at all. Now consider what this does to the landscape of human choice. Every action you have ever taken has been an action whose effect propagated outward at or below the speed of light. Every piece of information you have ever processed arrived inside your past light cone. Your entire biography, the sequence of causes and effects that constitutes your life, is a structure carved out within the light cone geometry of spacetime. You are not a free agent moving through an open universe. You are a trajectory through a four-dimensional manifold, and the cone of light defines, at every single point along that trajectory, what you can respond to and what you cannot. There is a concept in relativity called the worldline. It is the path an object traces through space-time as it moves forward in time. Every object has one. Every particle has one. You have one. Your worldline begins at the space-time coordinates of your birth and traces a continuous path through four-dimensional space-time up to this moment and forward from this moment until the end of your life. And at every point on that worldline, you are surrounded by your light cone. At every moment, there is a past cone of everything that could have influenced you and a future cone of everything you can potentially influence. Here is what makes this truly striking. The worldline of a massive object like a human being must always remain inside its own light cones. Because we cannot travel faster than light, our movement through space must always be slower than the expansion of the light sphere. This means our worldline is always time-like, always pointing forward through time at an angle steeper than 45 degrees on the space-time diagram. We are always inescapably moving forward through time. We cannot loop back outside the cone. We cannot exit into the space-like region. The geometry holds us on a path, and that path determines the successive light cones we encounter. Because your worldline moves forward in time, the cone you inhabit right now is the cone that grew directly out of your position one moment ago. The information that enters your present light cone is determined by the position you occupied in the past. You did not choose to be born where and when you were. You did not choose the physical events that entered your past light cone during the first years of your life. The light cone at the moment of your birth, set by your space-time coordinates, determined what physical influences could reach you. Those influences shaped your brain, your environment, your capacities. And each subsequent light cone grew out of the one before it. This is what physicists mean when they talk about causal determinism, not as a philosophical position, but as a geometric fact. The chain of light cones is unbroken. The influences that shaped you were the influences that fell within the geometry. The choices available to you at any moment are only the choices that the geometry permits. Now, the idea of thermodynamic determinism adds another layer to this picture. In statistical mechanics, the second law of thermodynamics tells us that the entropy of a closed system tends to increase over time. The universe moves from lower entropy states to higher entropy states, from order to disorder, from concentrated energy to diffuse energy. The direction of this process is what gives time its arrow. And the arrow of time is what gives your light cone its orientation. The past cone points toward lower entropy states. The future cone points toward higher entropy states. Your experience of moving from past to future, your sense of time flowing forward, is the thermodynamic arrow aligned with the causal structure of your light cone. You cannot reverse that arrow. You cannot send information backward through time any more than you can send it faster than light. The light cone is sealed in both its geometric and its thermodynamic dimensions. The causal structure enforced by the speed of light and the thermodynamic structure enforced by the second law of thermodynamics work together to create a single, unified architecture of constraint. And that architecture is beautiful. It is not a cage built by malevolent forces. It is the necessary structure of a universe where cause and effect exist at all. Without the speed limit imposed by light, without the rigidity of the light cone, there would be no consistent causal order. Events could influence the past. Signals could arrive before they were sent. The logic of physical law would collapse. The light cone is the thing that makes the universe coherent. It is the geometry that ensures a cause always precedes its effect, that information flows in one direction, that the physics we measure and test and build technology upon is stable and consistent. But coherence and freedom are not the same thing. You can look out at the night sky and feel a sense of boundless openness. You can feel as though the universe is yours to explore, to respond to act within, And in the scale of ordinary human life, that feeling is not entirely wrong. Your light cone, over the course of a human lifetime, expands outward across billions of light years. In principle, events from across an enormous volume of the cosmos fall within your past light cone. But the universe is vastly larger than that cone, and even within the portion of reality that is causally accessible to you, the only information you receive, the only causes that reach you, are the ones that fell within the angle set by the speed of light. What you think of as your world, the full expanse of reality you navigate every day, is the interior of a cone defined by a universal constant. And what you think of as your freedom, the open space of possibility you believe you move through, is precisely the interior of that same cone, not infinite, not boundless, geometrically precise, mathematically fixed. The speed of light sets the angle sets the cone sets the boundary of your causal universe. And inside that boundary, you live out the full arc of what it means to exist.